So, functions of the female reproductive system are going to be to deliver the ova, which is just a single-celled, half the genetic material of the mom, to produce sex hormones, provide nutrients and room for the fetus, and then to give birth and nutrients for the infants. The first part that we could talk about is going to be the ovaries, and the ovaries are designed so you can kind of see how they're all sort of put together. We have our ovaries, then we have our ovary, we have our uterus, we have our fallopian tube, and then at the end we have these little sort of like, they look like fingers kind of, and they're called fimbriae. And what they're designed to do is that the ovary releases an egg, the fimbriae catches the egg, and then brings it into the fallopian tube where sperm will eventually go down the tube, kind of like a runway, and then be able to fertilize the egg. So these are going to be called follicles, and follicles are going to be the egg that's produced, and they'll burst out. You can see that slowly what happens is we have two of these cells that sort of get produced. One of them will get absorbed by the body, one will get released, and then as it gets released, that's going to go ahead and become the egg. The other one just gets reabsorbed. Some women will actually produce two eggs at a time. They're the kind that you could see that in their families. There's a lot of twinning. The internal genitalia, they're going to consist of ducts and tubes that we're going to talk about. The external is going to deal with the clitoris, the labia majora, the labia minora, and any glands that help to provide lubrication. Our first area that we're going to discuss is sort of how it's all put together. And there's a muscular tube line, and that's going to be these little fimbriae, and they're designed to catch an egg and sort of pulsate, 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 and they're going to go ahead and allow the egg to sort of come into the fallopian tube, and then eventually somewhere between here we're going to have the sperm come in and aid in fertilization. The tissues of the uterine wall, there's going to be the perimetrium, that's going to be external layer. There's a myometrium, that's going to be that middle layer. And then finally we have the endometrium. This is going to be the material that's released during a menstrual cycle, and it's designed to give nutrients to the embryo if produced. It has some tissue, blood, it even has a lot of capillaries and ability to give the child food. Half of this is shed during each period, and we'll kind of talk about how the uterine wall is produced and sort of destroyed. Here's a quick sort of synapsis. We have the vagina, we have the cervix, which is the end of the vagina, we have the uterus, which changes shapes dramatically as the woman gets pregnant. You'll see that soon. We have the fallopian tube, the fimbriae, and the ovary. So if we were to go ahead and look at the birth canal, we're going to find out that there is a bunch of areas that are designed to help facilitate the child from being born, which we'll call the birthing canal. But you could see that there's a lot of material in the vagina and the inner walls designed to help keep bad things out. Like there are areas that help for bacteria to go away and kind of create an acidic environment, and that's designed because bacteria like a pH of 7, so by keeping it slightly acidic, that's going to help keep them away. They're going to help during the time of menstruation to get rid of some of this tissue that you're seeing here, because that gets remade every time. If we go ahead and look at the physiology of the female, we'll first find that there's a mons pubis. It's sort of a mound of fat that's over the pubic symphysis, and it's designed to sort of protect the pubic symphysis. If you remember correctly from 201, you saw that the pubic symphysis in the female has a little cartilage right there, and it protects that cartilage from snapping or cracking. During pregnancy, that cartilage will sort of become weaker and allow temporarily that birthing canal to open up and then close back up, and that cartilage becomes hard again. Labia majora, that's going to be the thicker folds where the pubic hair is. Labia minora, that's going to be the area that's the inner lips, and that's going to be hairless. They're going to be the openings for the vestibule of the vagina. Vestibule is just an opening area. And the prepuce is going to be a hood-like tissue that's going to be over the clitoris, and the clitoris is basically where the labia minora comes together, and it's going to be a very sensitive area. It does get engorged with blood when the female is erect. She's going to go ahead and fill that up. It's going to be an area of sensation. There's going to be a vestibule bulb, and that is around the vagina and sort of goes around the penis itself. It sort of is the narrowing of the vagina. And then the greater and lesser vestibular glands, and they're going to basically go ahead and provide lubrication during sex. Breasts, they are, the nipple is basically a modified sweat gland, and basically it's designed to be a target for babies so they can go ahead and figure out where milk will come from. And milk will be made by the hormone prolactin, and that's going to be the start of it. And basically what will come with milk will be antibiotics, fat, and a lot of nutrients for the baby. If we look at puberty in women, it's going to be very similar to puberty in men, where what we're going to have is our GnRH, which is just our gonadotrophin areas, get produced. You can see that FSH and LH, which are gonadotrophin hormones, are going to be produced. The big difference here is what happens, of course, and what hormones are produced. FSH, which stands for follicle stimulating hormone, instead of making testosterone like it does in males, are going to make estrogen and progesterone. And what will happen in female development will be that as it starts to happen, we'll have our first menstrual period somewhere around 12. We're actually seeing that age start to tick down a little bit because of some chemicals that are in the environment that are causing us to prematurely hit puberty for males and females. Female hormones secrete through a cyclical sequence, the 30 days we'll talk about soon. The release of estrogen at puberty causes breasts, broader hips, if you've ever had a PAP or you know what a PAP is, it's basically where the doctor will go in, open up the vagina, and take a small probe, usually with some felt at the end or maybe a glorified stick with a little cotton on it. And basically what it's designed to do is take a little bit of the tissue near the cervix. You're going to put it on the slide, and you're looking for any abnormalities. Any abnormalities here would be cells that don't look right, so they could lead to cancer. We could see bacteria back over there, and that could be an issue, or even parasitic infections. And then with females and males, they have the same sort of, we'll go ahead and do this in another video where we'll talk about how we go from the normal complement of 48 down to 23 chromosomes.